I hope you are all refreshed and ready for the post-lunch session. The student turnout is a bit low, but what we cannot achieve in numbers, I believe we will accomplish through discussions and ideas. With this, I warmly welcome you all to the post-lunch session of Swadhyay Shikshan Kshitijam Leadership and HR Conclave, organized by Career Development Center of School of Engineering and Technology, VIPS TC. We now begin our discussion on the topic titled Adaptability with Change, a critical skill in today's rapidly evolving professional landscape. In an era where disruption is the only constant, the ability to adapt defines success. Whether it's technological advancements, shifting market dynamics, or evolving workplace cultures, embracing change with agility and resilience is essential. To help us navigate this topic, we are honored to have two distinguished speakers sharing their insights. First, I warmly welcome Mr. Himanshu Jesse Vadia. Yes, sir, please come on the stage. Mr. Vadia is the Director of Innovation and Automation at Amdocs, a certified ITIL expert and a visionary in large-scale digital transformations. With expertise in IT infrastructure from data centers to private and public cloud ecosystems, Mr. Vadia has orchestrated strategic alignments between technology and business goals for global organizations. His proficiency in ITSM tools, governance, and AI-driven automation has revolutionized sectors like telecom and fintech, ensuring resilience through business continuity planning and cutting-edge innovation. Sir, I now invite you onto the stage to address the audience. A big round of applause once again for Mr. Vadia.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you had a nice lunch. What happens when you win an award in your life, when you think that you've done something really good? What do you usually do? You celebrate. You try to send those pictures to your family WhatsApp groups and the people that you like. That is exactly what I do when I think I've done little somethings in my life. I send those pictures to Mr. Juneja. And I've been doing it for quite some time. He's like a fatherly figure to me. I have had the opportunity and the privilege to know him for a little over a year and a half. We stay very close to each other, and I feel really blessed to be in his company and to learn from whatever the things that he teaches directly and indirectly, and really happy that I've been able to know you. What I also know is that he has been pioneers of telecommunications in India. Harsh Jain was here and he mentioned about him being the professor of practice, but you probably would not know that when telecommunications industry in India, the thing that I earn my livelihood on, was evolving, he was amongst the people who made sure India was on the right path. He, with a group as big as Tata, where I also happen to be a part of, he was the one who has been the stepping stone and the place that we are in telecommunications right now. He was the one person who was amongst the first few to take it as a full-time career. Another thing that he has done for you all, this is something that he's done for me as an individual, but for what he has done for you all is, he's given you this opportunity of talking with these people like me and whatever little I know, which we did not have opportunities of while we were students. I am a BTech, I did my MBA, and then I have an MDP from IIM Calcutta. But even while I was with IIM, I did not have an opportunity of attending such sessions. So what for me, getting into the first interview that I had with L&T Infotech I was shaking. I had never met or interacted with a person from the corporate before. I think with these kind of sessions and the interactions that you're going to have, and thanks to technology like LinkedIn, that we are able to connect, that fear factor has been eliminated from you all. Okay. Now, what I'm also going to talk about, see, I know telecom, and I know that all of you are in a post-lunch session where the energies level are not that high. But I also understand that you are technical people, and if I try to tell you a few things about technology and telecom, it probably would be setting up a good thing for you for the near future. Are you all game for it? Yes, sir. Let's do it. Okay, so how big is the telecom industry in India? Maybe can someone answer? Is it the biggest industry in India, second biggest, third biggest, fourth biggest? Any wild guess? Telecom is it's the fifth biggest industry in India. Okay, that's very close. It's the fifth biggest industry in India, and the irony of it is the only big industry of India that is not talked about. We talked about fintech, we talk about manufacturing, we talk about BFSI, but we don't talk about telecommunications. Can you tell me, would have been a Swiggy without telecom? Can your banking application that you use on your phone, would that have been possible without the use of technology or of telecom? So what telecom does is, it is that superhero which is the invisible robe holder. It has got a robe like a Superman, but it is a very invisible thing of your life. But it holds a very important fulcrum. Okay. Now, what I'm going to talk about is a change. What has been the change in telecom ever since the stepping stones were laid by some visionary leaders of India? But what has been the change right now? We all talk about 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. How many of you know actually what 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G is? Okay. I'm not a professor, I'm not a lecturer, I will not get into the technology details of it. But I will explain to you what the difference between these technologies are and how the change has happened. Okay? What is 1G? 1G for me is even more revolutionary than the 5G that is ongoing. Why is that so? Because for the first time in humanity, a human being, we got a way to transmit data over a copper line. Okay, before that we were transmitting information, but we were not able to transfer binary over a copper line. So now what is 1G is? 1G is text only. You will understand what is text? Text only. Can someone give me one example of what would be a text only kind of a use case? Where would that be used? SMS, but that was predominant to the cell phone age. Think, pager. Give me one more example. I think if someone can give me one more, pager is a very good example, thank you. But one more example if you can give it. Fax. Fax was the one. Fax is another thing that was happening. Now I will call the person brilliant who gives me a third example. It probably would be, I could probably be looking at answer from only the first two rows, because the third row onwards, people would not have even imagined that would have happened. The caller ID phones. Remember those caller ID phones where I could see what person is calling in? It was revolutionary at the landline stage, that I could even understand what person was calling me. So these were the three use cases of 1G. Now what is 2G then? 2G is text and voice. Okay? Voice you understand, no? So text and voice. Then what is 3G? Text, voice and data. तो सब तो कवर हो गया, फिर 4G का क्या जरूरत है? So what is 4G then? So 4G is text, voice and data together. Okay? So text, voice and data together. Now what is 5G then? Speed. So 5G is low latency, as we call it in the radio terms. So text, voice, data together at high speeds. This is how it is. Then what is 6G that is coming up? Okay, so 6G is what is going to be the glass shattering moment or the ice breaking moment of the telecom world. It is going to eliminate the tier 1, 2, 3, 4 divides. What is the difference between tier 1, 2, 3, 4 in India? In tier 4, we do not have good telecom signals. We do not have good access to technology. Do they have lesser brains than you or me? The people in tier 4 towns? Absolutely not. Probably they are sharper than us. They do a lot of physical work more than what we would do. We'll be proud at clocking 10,000 steps in a day, while they would do 35,000 steps easily every day. So what is shattering them, what is not letting them grow is the usage of technology, is the ease of from where they would get the technology. Now 6G, hold your ears, will be when the internet will be beamed from the sky through SATCOMs, and that will eliminate the tier 1, 2, 3, 4 divides. So that is how the change of technology has been from 1G down to 6G. Okay. 6G will also mean, the lady here mentioned that 5G is going to be very high speeds. 6G is even going to be higher speeds. Now what that can do is that will create a lot of new use cases in the market. What kind of use cases? The use cases right now, I hope no one has gone through a surgery, but have you seen the robotic surgeries that are happening right now? So what the doctor does is, with all due respect, he plays on a joystick while the robot does the work inside of your body. Right? It started off, the first time a robotic surgery was introduced in India was around gallbladder removal, which became a huge deal in the early 2000s. So a lot of people had fat deposits and stones in their gallbladders, and that was the first time robotic surgeries was introduced. Now, understand give it a quick thought. If it has to be robotically operated, why does a doctor need to be present in that operation theater? Can he not be sitting at his clinic and doing it? Latency. That's a word. With 6G, we will be eliminating that latency. Right now, I'll give you a terminology called dark fiber. You can just note it down and maybe search it later on. Dark fiber is a telecom technology in which we connect two different data centers within 21 kilometers of each other, and we can achieve a 0.5 ms of latency. Otherwise, while I'm in a data center, while I do my data center design, a row, and then there's a row next to it, and then there's a row in the third way, there will be a 10 ms latency added with each row. Now with dark fiber, it will be eliminating of that and bringing it down to 0.5 ms of latency over a 21 kilometer range. Now imagine those kind of latency being beamed from the skies. I would not like a doctor to be doing it on a surgery on a 5G कि उसने click कर दिया, उसको वहाँ screen पे replicate नहीं हुआ, does a click 2 or 3 times, cut and वहाँ पे उसका gallbladder के साथ साथ और भी कुछ कट गया. We would not like that to happen, no? So with ultra low latency, now from the thing I mentioned, the doctor could be sitting in an operation theater and could be operating. He could be sitting in his clinic and doing it. He could be sitting even in New York and doing it. And if he's sitting in New York and doing it, he could be doing it for a person in Delhi. He could be doing it for a person in tier 2 and a tier 3 town also. He could be doing it, the same surgery, in a remote village also. So your use cases, the first part of the day were where a lot of people from HR were there. They were trying to guide you and help you understand, and especially people in the last row that lady was commenting. They were trying all to tell you what does the industry want. Okay, I would really like you to all be aligned to it, but that is not my target audience. I can tell you what technology can do to you, and probably for the last set of 15% people who would be outside of the placement, and or the rest of the 15% people who would like to open up their own entrepreneurship ventures, please make sure that you listen to the rest of the points that I do very, very categorically, clearly. That will help you devise your own projects, which can be converted further into business ideas, and that could be converted to startups and then private limited companies of tomorrow. So lend me your ears. So we've all understood about telecom technologies. Now, another thing that I was discussing over lunch with a few ladies here was that we only talk about, when we talk about technology, we talk about coding. We talk about you write a code and you become a software engineer. But right now, we talk about AWS being the go-to technology, the go-to cloud, where we are hosting different technologies. But who maintains the data centers of AWS? AWS would eventually be a data center at some part of the country. Okay? We all heard about DPDPA. Anyone who could tell me the full form of DPDPA? It's an act the government of India is passing. Data Protection and Data Privacy Act. It clears one very important thing that is important for every person in this room. Indian customers' data for an India's application cannot go out of the mainland India. It has to stay within India. Stay within India would mean that their data center has to be a localized data center with a firewall not letting the data flow out of this mainland country. It cannot even flow to Andamans and Lakshadweep. It has to be going through an approval process only. It cannot by default go to even Lakshadweep and Andaman Nicobar Islands. Now with that kind of laws, that means the growth of data center and cloud jobs in India will also grow. Now if those data center and cloud jobs will also grow, they would not require coders. They would require virtualization engineers. An engineer who's worked on machine learning could become a virtualization engineer. He could be cross-trained into getting into virtualization. What is virtualization? The biggest advantage an organization, an IT company or a telecom company with virtualization achieves is overutilization. What is overutilization? Anyone? No, that's efficiency increasing. What is overcommitting? Overcommitting is I have, for instance, 100,000 cores in my compute. While doing the allocation, I will not be allocating 100,000 cores to different applications and their application owners. I will eventually be doing 125,000 cores. Though I do not have it, but why? An application which is an attendance management application, while you all come in at 9 a.m. into the college, the application's transactions per minute will be at its highest. The compute usage will be at the highest. But what happens at 11 a.m.? The compute usage goes down. If I allocate, for instance, 500 cores to your attendance management application, for the rest of the day, I am underutilizing those 500 cores. Now with overcommitting, an application which is using high cores in certain times of the day, balancing it out with certain things that happen in the night. Giving you an example, and this is a very important and probably a revelation to you, data consumption, the mobile data consumption in India peaks at 10 p.m. and the peak ends at 1 a.m. in the night. That's where most of India consumes a lot of data. Can I also utilize the same if I map that application of that attendance management application? If I pull out the cores and plug it down to my data consumption applications later in the day, can I override and use the same code twice? Now up the game. These cores can become some really high efficient CPUs. These CPUs can become really highly efficient GPUs. The usage will be lesser, the compute consumption will be lesser, my CPUs will not be overrunning, and that what will happen? You will go to a State Bank of India branch and they will not have that bahana ki some compute server down hai baad mein aana. They will never have this bahana because the compute is so aggressive, like the one I had the opportunity of seeing, the H100s of NVIDIA that you have in your labs. H100 is a commercial implementation that I am doing for Etisalat as a telecom operator in live environment right now. I have not touched H100 ever in my life till now, till about 3 weeks ago. And you had the opportunity of even dealing with it in your labs. Technology is there. You need to understand what the technology is and you need to adopt to those technologies. I will also introduce another term that is not part of your academia right now, but I think it is a good time for you to learn. It is called ITIL, Information Technology Infrastructure Library. Just note this term. It tells you on how to manage IT infrastructure very efficiently. It will have 3 pillars and then I'll move on to the 4th pillar also. First pillar is called the incident management pillar. What is an incident management? In everyday operations, server operations, network operations, everything is supposed to work in a particular fashion. But that is an ideal case scenario. That could break. It could result into an incident. What is an ideal way of managing an incident is the guideline that ITIL gives in the incident management module. Okay? Now, from incident management, it will move on to problem management. What is a problem? A problem is a repeat incident. एक बार चलते चलते server down हो गया, okay. What if the server gets down second time? What if it gets down the third time? We start classifying it as a problem. Okay? And I'm going to share an analogy on how to do problem management. It is a Japanese analogy which is called the 5 Why analogy. Okay? 5 Whys, W-H-Y. Okay? A server went down on 21st of July. We rebooted, the server came up. Okay? It went down again 3 days later. Then we will do a 5 Whys. Why? The first question, every question of these 5 Whys has to begin with a why only. And you could use it in your everyday day-to-day life, even the people in the front 2 rows. You could use it in your day-to-day lives to get to the conclusion. Why did the server go down? The server went down, you will write an answer, the server went down because the CPU usage became extremely high. It overloaded the CPU and everyone would know about a deadlock situation. It reached a deadlock. Deadlock, if I remember, there was a book called Operating Systems in your 3rd semester. Galvin, do you still use the same book? Dinosaur, pink colored book with dinosaurs on the front. You don't use that book, but you understand the concept of deadlock. So that deadlock was there and hence the server went down. Second why. Why did the CPU utilization go high? The answer would be that there was a new application that was deployed on the server night before. Okay. Third why did the new application deployment cause a CPU spike? Was it not tested properly? Answer would be it was not tested properly because the test environment was not available. Fourth why was the test environment not available? The test environment was not available because there was supposed to be a release of new funds for the GPUs or the new CPUs to be bought. That was actually, we couldn't procure it on the right time because of maybe the supply chain issues. The fifth question, why did the budget fail? And that becomes a management question. Now you understand how the analogy changed in these 5 whys. From being a technical problem, it has now became a supply chain problem. So this is how you utilize a 5 why analogy and create a problem management ticket. And then from a problem management, you will devise few preventive actions and few corrective actions. Corrective actions are the actions that you take on the spot and make sure the server is right up. And preventive actions is making sure with a core principle that this problem should not reoccur in future. This is how you devise preventive actions. Incident management, reiterating ITL's first principle, incident management, how to deal with something that is broken in IT systems. Second, problem management, how to ensure with the 5 why analogy, how to ensure that the problem does not get repeated again. Now to ensure that the preventive actions that you have devised are implemented to the system, there is a change management process also. There has to be a change management process. Otherwise, you cannot just put the code at 11 a.m. in the morning into production and then rest of India goes down. The application that is fed, for instance, that Aadhaar application, if you do a bug fix in 11 a.m. in the morning, पूरे India का mobile acquisition बंद हो जाएगा. Bank accounts नहीं खोलेंगे. Understood? So it has to go through a change management process. That is the third pillar. Now, what is the fourth pillar that I was talking about is the knowledge management. Now, while people in the front 2 rows, I'm sorry, I'm re-quoting you all over again. But while the people like me and the people in the front 2 rows, we were studying, our access to knowledge was limited to the libraries that had journals outdating to 15 years, 20 years. While the people from the 3rd row right up to the last row will have access now, because of the ready access to knowledge, will have a Harvard white paper that was released 24 hours ago in your inbox. We were relying on journals that were written by people who did not even know what AI is. While you would read articles on LinkedIn by industry leaders and listening to industry leaders who were sitting here about technology that is being implemented as we speak. Okay, so that is knowledge management. I would break down knowledge management into 4 parts. Okay, this is called DIKW. It is again a principle of ITIL, DIKW. The first D stands for data. Mr. Juneja talked about a lot of data that is being created right now. Every day you open your mobile, you have a bunch of data. We had those 10 seconds of gap in which so much data got created. Instagram posts, those emails, what is this? This is data that is being created. So first D is data. I is intelligence. What data to consume and what data not to consume. Consume ke liye to we can scroll down mindlessly through reels all day. But is that the data you want to consume, or is that the data the social media websites want you to consume? So you decide what data you need to consume. That becomes I. Data, intelligence. Intelligence of consumption of data. Then third is K, which is knowledge. What does that intelligent data teach you is knowledge. DIK, then what does W stand for? W stands for the people who are sitting in these front 2 rows who have acquired DIK on all these years, and it has turned into wisdom. This is what knowledge management is all about. Knowledge management is a derivative of change management. It is the only constant, like we say 2 things in these days. The data is the new oil and change is the only constant. I will tell you, I've bored you enough through technical talk, so I will tell you 2 stories. Maybe I'll tell you a few more. This is, I'll give you my background. I worked with TCS in the past. I worked with Ericsson. I had a 5-year stint with Bharti Airtel, and before I'm now working with Amdocs, as the lady introduced me of. So while I was with Bharti Airtel, Sunil Bharti Mittal happened to deliver one of the talks in one of the town halls that I attended, in which he told about a story on how he entered the telecom industry, and this is for all the people who want to become the entrepreneurs of the future. So lend me your ears. Sunil Bharti Mittal came in and he mentioned that he was a teenager, a misguided teenager. He was very fond of alcohol and he had a lot of girlfriends while he was growing up in his teens. And he said that I want to get to a direction of life. I want to make it something big. His father was an influential person in Ludhiana in Punjab. He was an MLA. And he took Sunil to Pawan Munjal's office. Pawan Munjal is from the Hero Group. Have you heard of the Hero Group? Pawan Munjal, he is the founder of the Hero Group. So he took it to Pawan Munjal. Cycle industry in India was very big in those years of the 1970s and the 80s. It's still, Ludhiana still produces 90% of the world, India's complete cycles. So he took him to Pawan Munjal, and Pawan said that, Mr. Munjal said that he manufactures all the parts that are required for a bicycle in India, minus the gear. The gear he was importing from BSA in the UK. Gear pata na sabko? So Sunil Bharti Mittal went to so his father took him down to an astrologer also. I do not like this part of the story, but I'll tell you for the sake of it. So he took him to an astrologer, and astrologer said that, asked his father to give him a loan of 40,000 rupees so that he could start his enterprise. And also he asked him to add his mother's name to his as a middle name. So that's how Sunil Mittal became Sunil Bharti Mittal. And he started manufacturing these cycle gears and became a decently successful businessman. But that was not his calling. But again, how luck happens. Few years later, Beetel Telecom, BEETEL, Beetel Telecom of Japan came to India. And they came to Sunil and they said that you're manufacturing these gears. Can you make them in a smaller form factor for my rotary phones? Remember those rotary phones that are happening? So this is how Sunil Bharti Mittal started manufacturing those gears in a smaller form factor for Beetel's rotary phones. Then the history has it, 6 years later, he bought Beetel company. He bought a pager license as Bharti Telecom. Then he became the Bharti Airtel's. This became Bharti Airtel. They got into 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, and now, right as we speak, Bharti Airtel is not just Bharti Airtel India. Bharti Airtel is the second biggest telecom operator in Sri Lanka. Bharti Airtel is Bangladesh's biggest broadband provider. Singapore Telecom, Singtel, is 40% Bharti Airtel. Singtel is 40% Bharti Airtel, and Bharti Airtel is 40% Singtel. Singtel then owns 33% of Optus Telecom in Australia. Optus Telecom has a majority stake, that means more than 25% stake in Telefonica in Argentina, Brazil, Peru, and Chile in South America. Sunil Bharti Mittal also operates in 14 countries in Africa, countries as small as Burkina Faso and Chad that we probably would not even have heard of or looked at in a geography map, and countries as big as Nigeria. In fact, the joke around the telecom circles was, we've all been through a price increase in the telecom in the last few months. Prices have increased by 15-20%. And what was the joke on the Instagram? That Mukesh Ambani ne apne bete ki shaadi mein Shakira bulai thi because of the price increase. That was a joke on the internet, right? We all heard this joke. What's real? And it is obviously the revenue streams increase for Reliance as well as for Bharti Airtel. But what did Bharti Airtel do? Bharti Airtel silently bought 24.5% of British Telecom. British Telecom is like the BSNL of UK. Okay, so this is how cross investments work, and probably you must have all been through, maybe you were too young, but 2016 was when Jio came into India and it started offering free data. You probably would know that phase. That was probably the time that you got introduced to mobile phone for the very first time. But two things to it. In no business school, we have been taught on how to deal with a competitor that gives its services for free. We know how to deal with a competitor that gives us services for 80% of my cost, 70% of my cost. But how do you deal with a competitor that gives a service for free? Ola, Uber, two competitors hain. Ola aaj kehte hain, aaj se rides free. How will Uber compete? And that too for 2.5 years. Right? How did Airtel survive? Is because of these cross investments that I mentioned. There were 21 telecom operators in India. 21. Right now, how many of them are there? 3. BSNL is defunct, so 3 primarily. So there were 21. Between 2008 and 2016, every 8 months, a new telecom operator entered into India. We had Telnor, we had Uninor, we had MTS, we had Videocon, we had BPL, we had Spice Telecom, which is very dominant in Punjab and Himachal circles. Where did they all go? They all became bankrupt. Tata, with all due respect, tried to enter operator business thrice. One through Tata, second was Tata Indicom, and third was Tata Docomo. It burned its fingers thrice in telecom and couldn't survive. It is very unlikely that Tata is going to enter into consumer telecom business anytime soon. But at the same time, a story like Sunil Bharti Mittal is something that we need to look up to. He has been a superhero of telecom, not just in India, but globally. He's built a brand out of Ludhiana for the world. And you have the privilege of being in the same country and being in the same geography as him. One last thing before I call it. We talked about AI, and that brings a lot of smiles to a lot of faces here. So AI has been a buzzword. We've all known what AI is. It is inevitable that we do not adopt it. We have to adopt it at some stage or the other. For me, Industrial Revolution, when it happened in 1924, did people lose jobs? They made machines to make humans' lives simpler. AI is another tool to make humans' lives simpler. The only analogy here would be humans without AI, humans with AI will outpace humans without AI. So that is where you need to adopt. And I think that should be it from me. I've taken a lot of time, and I'll be happy to interact with and take questions if you would have related to telecom, related to technology. Thank you. Oh, certainly. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vadia, for sharing your insights and experience and underscoring the need for adaptability in the face of technological and organizational change. Our second speaker for the session is Mr. Vijay Sethi, Chairman and Chief Mentor at MentorCart, a digital transformation and sustainability evangelist with over 30 years of experience in manufacturing and consulting. Mr. Sethi serves on multiple global advisory boards, mentors individuals in startups, and teaches at management institutes. Formerly with Hero Motorcorp, Ranbaxy, and Tata Consultancy Services, he has led IT and CSR projects, including India's first industry-wide IT platform for OEMs and suppliers and large-scale sustainability initiatives. Let's welcome Mr. Sethi with a round of applause.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. How many of you are on WhatsApp? नहीं, right now. The session में तो जो चल रहा है चलने तो अपने WhatsApp is more important. That's what I asked. So all of you, fantastic. What I thought over the next few minutes, I'll share with you about adaptability with change. Hope you understand the meaning of adaptability and change. All of you, students, I'm talking to you. Okay. First, let me thank my friend Harsh, Mr. Juneja, Professor Juneja, as you call him. So I've known him, I don't even remember how many years, and he just sent in a message a few weeks back that aapko aana hai. I said I can't say no, so I'm here. So thank you for inviting, and also want to thank a lot of students. I met a lot of students right away, and some of the discussions were really nice. So thank you to all the students also for that. So let's talk about adaptability with change. Let me start with 3 simple questions for students. You ready? Okay. So we heard, and all of us know that there's huge advancements in technologies like AI, and I was talking about AI, ML to some of you, about RPA, which is robotic process automation, quantum computing, this, that, हर रोज एक नई technology आ जाती है. Whatever you are being taught today, whether you're a second year student, third year student, fourth year student in BTech, will it become redundant soon? Yes or no? No. Who said no? Okay, एक देखो मेजॉरिटी होती, कल भी वोट पड़ी थी लोकसभा राज्यसभा में, एक से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ा ना. 2 votes against everyone, 3, 4, okay. The reality is it could become redundant very soon. So if you feel it's no, then maybe you need to change a lot of stuff, because whatever maybe 4 years back at VIPS or any other college was being taught, a lot of it has already become redundant. Okay? Second, so people are already talking, and many of you, I was told that you do your assignments even on computer science and writing programs on Gen AI rather than putting your own brains on what the code should be, when many of the programmers did at maybe 20 years back, 15 years back, or 5 years back, or you have all these so-called low-code, no-code platforms, in case you know all these. They are really changing, and many of you could be getting into the role of a software developer. How does this role of software developer evolve? How do you think this will evolve? So these are things that you really need to think about, because another 1 year, 2 years, you'd be actually into that job market. So you need to adapt, and I'll come to the adaptability part, and that's the change. I just wanted to give you a few things on the changes which are happening. So while we may think that the world is not changing fast for us, it's only for maybe a US or reciprocal tariffs which Mr. Trump is putting, that's where the world is changing. The world is changing for each one of you sitting in this room, each one of us sitting in this room. Okay? So we need to be very clear and adapt ourselves. Third question. All of you want to join the dream company, this software company, this hardware company, whatever, or any other non-software. What is the probability that that company might actually disappear in 5 years? How many companies have disappeared over the last few years? How many jobs have disappeared? Just imagine. Are you preparing yourself for that? So while you think that this may be a joke, the reality is this is real world. And answers to all these three questions which I spoke about. Let me see if I can go back. Yeah. Whether it is the current technology is becoming redundant, the roles really changing of software developers, or the company which we think is one of the best companies today, actually they could disappear. This is reality. So you need to be very, very clear, because the world is changing so fast that you can't even imagine. Can't imagine. Pata nahi aapko bhi. Let's take two unexpected changes that have happened. Who last? What happened on 1st January 2020? On 1st January 2020, how many of us could imagine that by 31st March 2020 our world would go topsy-turvy? How many of us could imagine? आज हम मार्च में बैठे, by June, in 3 months. What could go topsy-turvy? You never know. 1st January 2020, everyone was in a good mood. In 3 months, coronavirus came and the entire world was shut down. No company which had even, most of the companies had not even imagined something called work from home. It was only few selected companies or esoteric companies or HPs and IBMs, maybe Tata's, I don't know, who had work from home. Everyone was, and that's where the world really changed. Okay? What happened on 30th November 2022? Anyone? IT wale up. What happened on 30th November 2022? And no one would have imagined on 1st November 22 that this is how the world is going to change. Anyone Googling? Anyone Googling and getting an answer? ChatGPT came and suddenly you had answers to all the questions which your teachers were asking. नहीं तो Google की 6 जगह साइट पे ढूंढना पड़ता था, कुछ लिखना पड़ता था. Suddenly now you just write the question and you get the answer, and then just make some comma, full stop here, and then think that the teacher won't understand it's a ChatGPT answer. The word changed. Something called Gen AI really impacted. So for those who would have done a computer science in 2022, they wouldn't even have known about this. So those who are doing in 25 or 26 who are passing out, what could happen in 25 or 26? You won't even know. But are those guys still in the job market? Answer is yes, because they would have adapted themselves. Okay? And then of course, while we thought ChatGPT was the end of the world, then came DeepSeek, this, that, and now people have just forgotten LLMs and they've talked of something called diffusion LLM which is coming up. But this not being a technical course, so we're not talking about that. The reality is change is inevitable. Whether we like it, whether we don't like it, it's the only constant, as Ivanshu was also saying. It is inevitable. You can't stop the change. Only thing you can do is you can adapt to the change. Okay? But does this change really make a difference? Let me give you 3 same examples once again. COVID-19 changed the entire world. Okay? Gen AI, we adapted ourselves. But there are companies, there are people who failed to do that. And the most classic example is Kodak. Kodak was the one which invented digital cameras. They were the leaders in photography, cameras. They were the ones who invented digital. But they were not willing to change their business models. They were not willing to accept the fact that digital cameras could take over the world. They thought their current roles would continue. Company got wiped off. What does it mean? If we do not accept change, we may be the most brilliant persons. Kodak had the most brilliant people in that entire industry. That's why they invented the digital cameras. They had the most brilliant. Maybe all of us or all of you sitting in this room are most brilliant. But if we don't adapt ourselves, if we don't accept the change, that's what happens. This is what happens. So everyone today who talks about failures, first thing comes, Kodak moment ho gaya inka. It has become such a negative thing. And then there are others also there. I don't know how many of you would have heard of companies like BlackBerry, which were fantastic from a mobile phone perspective. No one uses BlackBerry today. And then one can go on and on and on, examples and examples and examples of all this. This is because they never adapted to the change. Adaptability is the key to success. And that's when I was told by Hemant, so he told me that the topic is change and adaptability. I said fantastic. So that's the best thing that could happen because change is constant. Only thing if you have to succeed is you have to adapt to that change. Otherwise, people will go away. And intelligence, as Stephen Hawking, we know one of the most brilliant persons that the world has ever seen. He says intelligence is the ability to adapt to change. If you are intelligent, you have to have that adaptability to change. If you don't change, that means that there's an issue with you. I just want to share 3 simple tips. I don't want to get into long, but 3 simple tips for students as to how you can really adapt to the change and succeed. Okay? Let's start. First, embrace continuous learning. Whatever has been taught is good for this year, maybe good for next year. I'm not too sure it will be good for next year. I'm not too sure. Okay? Remember, your BTech is just a foundation. Many of us think, मैंने भी जब BTech की थी आज से 25-30-32 साल पहले, we thought BTech is, but after that, I don't know. Maybe last year itself I would have done some 11 or 12 courses or certifications because the world is changing so fast. BTech is just a foundation. Don't think that your BTech would be the, whatever is being taught, with due respect to everyone, will be relevant 10 years from now. I'm not too sure. It will not be. At least from what I was taught in BTech, it's not relevant at all. So it's not a finish line. You need to continuously upgrade yourself. The world, and all of you are technology students, the world of technology is changing so fast that you need to stay up to date. How do you stay up to date? You have this Google Baba with you, you have ChatGPT, you have DeepSeek, you have so many blogs, everything. So you guys have access to so much information, you don't have to go out of your house to actually, or go out of your mobile phone actually to learn new things. You can learn, but you need to constantly keep yourself updated. Knowledge, never end your learning. Don't think that now you're 20, 25, 30, 50 साल के हो गए तो बहुत हो गया. No. Never end your learning because a sure way of failure is to think what you did yesterday would be sufficient tomorrow. 29th November 2022, all of you who thought that they are the best programmers, suddenly on 30th November, you write the same code in ChatGPT, someone can write in 30 seconds or 10 seconds. You would have taken 10 days to do that. Automotive industry, just to give an example, he spoke about some example of automotive industry and some of the persons he was quoting actually I reported to them. So there are companies which have been having engineers who are working on, for example, IC engines for years and years, decades and decades, 20 years, 30 years, experts on how to enhance the efficiency or fuel consumption of a petrol engine or a diesel engine by maybe 1 gram or 1 meter per whatever liter. But suddenly the EV comes and the entire thing goes away. What happens? There's no engine over there. The world changes. That is where you need to constantly update yourself and ensure that you're not a failure. Okay. So for first one is continuous learning. Second is you have to be agile. ढीले नहीं रहना. वहाँ देखेंगे, करेंगे, करते रहेंगे. That doesn't work in today's world at all. You have to embrace agility. You have to swiftly adapt. You are adapting, but you can't just wait. You have to swiftly, moment you see that there are changes, moment new things are coming in, please learn about them. Otherwise it will be too late. You need to respond to the changing circumstances because this change has to be seen as an opportunity, not as a threat. A lot of people see change as a threat, but it has to be seen. So 2 things over there. You need to, number 1, view changes as opportunities, not as a challenge. That's called growth mindset. Not a fixed mindset, but a growth mindset. And second, be flexible. नहीं मैंने तो .NET सीखा है या मैंने तो ML की वो वाली 2 चीज़ें सीखी थी, मैं तो वही रहूँगा. No, you have to be flexible because some of the things would change. Third and the last, if you really want to succeed in this changing world, which is so-called VUCA word, I don't know how many of you know the meaning of the word VUCA. It's a volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous work. The world is changing so fast again. No one knows. 3 days back, no one knew what is going to hit India. And today, over last 3 days, most of the Indian companies are scampering that what Trump did, really how it's going to impact them either in short term or long term. And we never know what will happen in next 10 days, 15 days, 1 month. No one knows. So in that, the amount of stress that each one of us goes through is high. So we need to prioritize our mental and physical well-being. Health would be a key to success. So while knowledge is there, agility is there, if you don't have health, that knowledge, that agility won't really help you at all. So you need to maintain good health, and especially for students, because students generally believe कि हम तो अभी छोटे बच्चे हैं, कुछ होता नहीं, जितनी देर मर्जी हमें 20 घंटे घूमना है, फिरना है, पढ़ना है, whatever. 2 घंटे सो लेंगे, 2 घंटे बैठ जाएंगे, that's more than enough. It doesn't work that way. You need to prioritize your health, both physical and more importantly mental health, if you want to succeed in life. So stress management is essential. Do regular exercises and healthy eating and things like that, but take rest. And finally, just to conclude, let me just say, you need to remember 3 things in life. First, change is inevitable. आप जो मर्जी कर लो, आप change को नहीं रोक सकते. You are in AI/ML domain. Your AI/ML things are changing very fast. Whatever was there few weeks back, there are enough and more startups which have come in last 10 days, which will change the entire paradigm of whatever you have been thinking. Second, we cannot change the direction of your, in a boat, you can't change the direction of the wind. Only thing that you can do is adjust the sails, which means that you need to adapt and ensure that whatever change is happening, I take advantage of that, take that as an opportunity rather than taking that as a challenge. And finally, the third one, adaptability is something that will lead to success. So embrace continuous learning, as I said, embrace agility and prioritize mental and physical health. Thank you very much and best wishes to each one of you.
Thank you, Mr. Sethi, for sharing your profound wisdom on navigating change with adaptability and foresight. Your presentation has highlighted how embracing change can be transformation for our personal growth. The floor is now open for the Q&A session. Students who have a question to ask can please take the mic.
So, good afternoon. I have a question to you, sir. We talked about the telecommunication technology and the SIMs. So, I have a question regarding that. Ki, in future, just suppose I have to start an entrepreneur company, be an entrepreneur and start a company regarding to SIMs. What should be the mindset I should have, and what kind of backend support should I have, or jo, like you can't be an entrepreneur from the starting. So what things I should do to become an entrepreneur in this technology only?
To begin with, if you start and plan an entrepreneurial journey, you should look at how that industry is going to shape up for the next 15 years. In the next 15 years, what's your name again? Sorry?
So this is Chandranshu Jha.
Chandranshu. So Chandranshu, in the next 15 years, telecom technology is going to go through multiple disruptions. We heard the speakers earlier stating that the age of technology, I think it was one of the faculty members who mentioned that the age of technology is evolving. There was an era when cassettes lasted 40 years. The next set of CDs lasted about 10. The DVDs lasted about 5, and then the cloud came. So the storage technologies got eliminated at that point of time. Now, if I equate it to telecom, you mentioned about being an entrepreneur in SIMs. With the advent of eSIMs, the SIM card business will also evaporate. Okay. Now, why eSIM business will be very critical in the next 5, 7, 10 years is because the advent of IoT. We were talking about IoT in the break. Now, what is IoT? It could enable see, IoT will not be enabled with a physical SIM card. It has to be enabled via virtual SIM card only or a eSIM card only. Otherwise, physical presence of a SIM body into an electronic device will become very cumbersome and costly. Now, an eSIM will take care of those things. Now, what are the use cases that you could develop? We talked about a use case where I could remotely prepare my coffee. But now I will go a step further from here. What if I instruct my car's IoT device or my screen or my communication multimedia device to instruct the geyser at my home to make sure that my water is hot when I reach? I could be sending that instruction when I leave from my office. It could be connected to my GPS, and the GPS could say that it is 1 hour 23 minutes for him to arrive. Please power the geyser on. But that's not intelligence, that's automation. Artificial intelligence will come when geyser's IoT device will instruct my GPS device that I take about 20 minutes to reach the boiling temperature. Instead of wasting the electricity for 1 hour and 23 minutes, let me start myself at 20 minutes before you arrive, and I'll map you to the arrival. So those are the kind of use cases. Same, I land up in my home, I want a freshly brewed cup of coffee. I could instruct my coffee machine to be doing exactly the same thing. Connection between, understand the IoT is a machine talking to a machine. It's an M2M communication. A machine talking to a machine and create your use cases around it. That is how you are going to become the entrepreneurs of future.
Thank you so much, sir.
I'll just add to what he said. 1 minute. The geyser artificial intelligence will take one more step further. He's right on this, which is that today it's slightly cold. So instead of taking 22 minutes for me to really warm up to the temperature which Mr. Himanshu needs, today it might take 24 minutes. So that's a second piece of artificial, it will take the real-time data from whatever is happening on the weather, and then say that, okay, it doesn't make sense that I just keep it for 20 minutes, keep it for 22 minutes, that's one.
So another thing I wanted to ask was, the startups have limited funding and are in an innovation stage. We can only hope that the technology that is coming will help us, or we can work around that. But as you both said about the Trump tariffs and the market going down suddenly out of nowhere or due to some government decisions, how can a startup that is working in its funding in its initial stage survive that part? With diverse investments, it can work, but we are seeing companies like Tata Motors tanking 40 rupees per share today on itself. So how will that work for a startup?
A startup might have limited funds, but it will never have limited ideas. It will always be beaming with ideas, and these ideas from a project file become business ideas and the business use cases of the future. Never be afraid of innovating. This was absolutely rightly mentioned by Sir, that never be afraid of innovating and adopt to the change. Your ideas will come up, ideas will fail. Trump's story is a different story. I'll tell you on how India was trying. We are also trying to, we are not fools, we are also trying to play smart. In 2015, when we had to change of government, 2014, the dollar value was roughly about between 55 and 60 rupees. Okay, so a practical example of an IT organization, for instance, picked up a project at $100,000 from a company in the US. So $100,000 at that time would have translated to 50 lakh rupees or 55 lakh rupees. Now, if the dollar is 86 rupees, it translates now into 86 lakh rupees. India has devaluated its money by 25%. And that is what Trump does not want us to do. Trump has imposed the 25% tariffs just to counter those numbers. So, and the second thing is he's afraid of de-dollarization. But those are two different things that you asked in a question. The answer to you would be a startup should look at the markets, but startups should not, ideas of the startups should not be influenced by the markets. They should be influenced by the changes around, but not by the markets.
Thank you, sir.
I'll just add a few things to specific questions that you asked. Number one, do startups face funding issue? Answer is yes. Okay, that's a reality, whether you like it or not. Do many startups really kind of fail, stop because of funding? Answer is yes. You would have seen over the last few weeks, few months, you would have heard hundred of stories, or maybe after lunch, after this session, I can tell you so many of them who would have closed over last. The key thing over here is, how do you have a backup plan? Okay, so how do you have a runway for say next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months? Do you have enough backup to kind of ensure that you are able to pay salaries of your team, the basic infrastructure, and innovate? That contingency plan has to be there at all times. Suddenly, if you find that you are on 5th of April and you can't give salaries for the month of April, you'll have to go out and beg and borrow, and then there could be a lot of people who could be taking advantage of you. So you need to have a plan for that. So it's not, startup journey looks very nice. You can always see so many unicorns which have come in. It's a real tough journey.
Thank you, sir.
First of all, I'd like to thank you. It was a wonderful session from both of you. So my question is, this is for a hackathon. Recently, me and my teammate, we went for a hackathon, and we noticed we were there for the health tech thing, but we noticed कि fintech में there wasn't as much competition. But हमारे लिए भी, we are new to fintech, and then we said कि इसमें भी हम कुछ करें. So my question would be कि how do we start, and B is that how do we stand out? Because अभी आप देखो हर चीज़ के लिए कोई एक टेक्नोलॉजी है, हर चीज़ के लिए कोई एक ऐप है. So how do we stand out in that?
I can start. See, I think everyone wants to stand out. Okay, how do I stand out? That may not be really the aim. If there are a TV company, there are 100 TV companies in the world. Okay, all of them are trying to do their best. So it's not just only about the idea as to how innovative the idea is, how let him just do whatever, since he's standing in front of you. So it is also how well you execute it. That's more important. That while there's a good phrase called first mover advantage. I came up with this idea, I'm a fintech, health tech, I came. If you really analyze the statistics, many of the or most of the first mover advantages actually fail. The second guy who comes in, the third guy or fourth guy actually builds on all the issues with the first, second, third and improves that. The issues could be the product, it could be the quality, it could be service, it could be anything. So it is not necessary that you have to stand out. You have to see, even if there are people who are already in fintech or health tech or whatever tech you want to go in, what is the problem that you are trying to solve? What is happening in the market? And what issues that you can resolve which even the current companies are not able to resolve, or the current startups are creating those problems. So if there's an Ola, Uber, it doesn't mean that there will not be another Rapido or Blue Smart or anything else. People would come in. But they are trying to ensure that some of the negatives of that are being taken care in the by technology in the next step. So don't just think कि मेरे को बस एक अलग सी चंद्रमा लेके आना है और कोई और ने करना नहीं है, ऐसा चलता नहीं है.
Thank you. I'll add to, again, I know telecom, so I'll give you a telecom example again. In telecom, one of the very important terminologies and one of very important key performance indicators is the average revenue per user, ARPU. You can track any telecom operator globally, they will all work on this KPI called ARPU. Average revenue, what I as an operator would make from an end customer. Okay. The average revenue per user in India is at about 220 rupees. Okay. Now, in these 220 rupees, another KPI that is tracked internally within telecom operators is average margin per user. Average margin per user in telecom in India is just 11 rupees a month. Okay, just 11 rupees a month. I, as an operator, if I'm Airtel, Bharti Airtel, I will make 11 rupees off of you end of the day in my P&Ls. Now, these 11 rupees, if there were multiple mediators within me and the end user, would even further erode. Now, telecom has cracked it. There are probably very less mediators or maybe a couple of mediators between an end user and the telecom company. You directly go to the app or the website and recharge it, or you go to maybe a Paytm kind of a setup or your banking app and do it. So there becomes very less mediators, and hence the 11 rupees it's a volume game. We are a very populous country, 120 crore mobile users in India, and out of the 150 million population. Billion. So it's a population game. So 11 rupees can make a sustainable business. It's not a problem. The problem which I'm going to share with you about fintech, which probably any of you could solve in future, is the number of mediators. There will be the Razor Pays, there will be the PayUs, there will be this banking app. They're hosted on cloud. So there will be bunch of things. So the number of mediators between the end user and an end bank is far, at least 10x more than that between a telecom operator and a telecom. So probably that's an open problem statement to you, and I think this is one of the big problems with fintechs these days.
Sir, my question to Vijay Sethi sir. I have heard IC engine is going to replace, EV is going to replace IC engine completely. Still, across, I have seen in the world, most of the countries are fighting to take the oil reserves. So, is that true, sir?
Fantastic. Number one, I personally don't think that IC engine will go away. I don't think so. They will coexist. So there'll be EVs, there'll be IC engines. Population बढ़ती जाएगी. We are at 140, 150 crores. Maybe will increase. Other countries would increase. I don't think any country would be able to have so much of electricity for powering. Number two, tomorrow lithium ion or any other, now they are talking sodium ion and others for batteries. Even those are reserves which will not be there. Third, I don't think it will economically make sense beyond a point to have only, and in India for example, forget Delhi jहाँ 15 साल में the vehicle is kicked out. In other parts, vehicles continue for 20 years, 30 years. So in any case, next 20, 25 years, 30 years, all the vehicles that have been produced will be there. So at least I am convinced that petrol engine is here to stay. Proportion would, in actual terms, would go down. But so percentage terms, but actuals would increase because your entire park size or entire population is increasing as such. That's why people, whether it is US trying to get controls on all the oils, Russia doing, यहाँ पे हमारे अपने यहाँ कर रहे हैं, that would continue. That's reality. EV है, IC भी रहेगा. That's how I see.
लेकिन सर EV completely IC को replace नहीं कर पाएगा सर.
At least I don't think so. Not in next 15, 20, 30 years that.
I will try to add on to this conversation, though I'm not an expert in it, but I'll just try to pitch in here. See, what is the best for an organization? It is to utilize the supply chains, existing supply chain twice. With EV vehicles, government of any country will be able to utilize the already laid electric lines twice for home supplies as well as vehicle supplies, and fuel distribution is a very big cost. It is probably a loss-making business for the government, and hence the government is giving subsidies, has been giving subsidies throughout. But having said that, electric vehicles for me also are not going to replace the ICE engines. It could be for me, it is, again, I'm not an automobile expert, but for me it's a stopgap arrangement till the ICE engines get refueled by a hydrogen fuel. That is the stopgap for the next 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. I might be underestimating the what these electric engines can be capable of, but this is what as an individual capacity it looks like.
It will be sir hybrid mode, sir. EV plus hydrogen.
EV plus hydrogen plus IC to start with.
Yes, sir, definitely. Sir.
See, the ICE engines will be for hydrogen also.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Sir, my name is Sankalp, and my specialization is mainly into artificial intelligence and machine learning. So I wanted to ask if I was an AI engineer and I wanted to enter the telecom industry, then where is the starting point? What should I start with?
Can you see the question one more time, sir?
If I was to start as an AI engineer in the telecom industry, then what should I start with?
See, in telecom, I come from the IT part of telecom. So telecom is again divided into two parts. My organization does, this is for the wider audience. So the IT part of telecom, what we do is, there are billing systems, there are recharge systems, there are payment systems, and there are CRM systems. These are the four pillars of the IT of telecom. Okay, creating billing systems for organizations like I work in Amdocs. We have in all 198 countries as per the United Nations, in which 800 telecom operators operate. 375, every telecom operator will need a billing system and a recharge system. It's going to be a prepaid model and a postpaid model. So billing system, out of these 800 operators, 375 operators billing systems run on Amdocs systems. Okay, so end of the day, the mail that you get with an Airtel sign would probably be just stamped by Airtel. That PDF will be created by an Amdocs system only. The recharge that you do is done by an Amdocs system. Now, why I'm telling you these use cases, because these are the use cases where we hire engineers out. Like I mentioned, the cost, the profit a telecom operator makes in a month from a customer is barely 11 rupees. While an incoming call to a call center of a telecom operator costs 80 rupees. The person sitting, the office that he is in, his provident funds, his medical insurances, so it is an 80 rupee incoming call. So if a customer calls once in a year to a telecom operator, the margins for the entire year get destroyed. And what are the top things that a person would be calling in a telecom operator for? I recharge my DTH, but my services haven't got resumed. You get that panic attack, right? When you recharge your DTH and your services don't get resumed, and then the instinctive it is that you need to call to the call center. Now this is where a system called unbarring is being introduced, and this is linked to a payment system, a billing system, and a recharge system. As soon as you pay your bill, the voice message that you get कि आपका bill 12 तारीख को pending है, आपने भरा नहीं है, the pre-record message that you get, they disappear. It sends a trigger there. How does it send a trigger? Through a script. It could just be a Python script. Two applications have to communicate. They are all communicating via an API. It's a world of API via middleware like an Oracle service bus. So inter-API communication. If you are an API to API mapper using a script, an attribute mapper of an API, that is the kind of jobs telecom operators would need. And not right now, for the 10 years, next 10 years.
I'll add to that. Just take a step back. It doesn't make any difference whether it's a telecom industry or any industry that you take. What are they looking at? They want to improve their top line, which is revenues. They want to reduce their costs. They want to improve their profits. They want to improve their quality. They want to improve their customer service. AI and data science can actually play a role in all five. So now you need to think as to out of this, where you want to play. So any industry, you can do that. It's nothing to do with industry.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so with this, we come to the end of our first post-lunch session. On behalf of the audience and the institution, a heartfelt thank you to our esteemed speakers, Mr. Himanshu Jaisivadia and Mr. Vijay Sethi, for sharing your profound insights on mastering adaptability in an ever-changing world. We now move on to the felicitation ceremony. To honor the invaluable contributions of our esteemed speakers, I now invite Dr. Deepika Bhatia on stage to felicitate Mr. Vadia. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Deepak Tiwari, Dean of Research, to felicitate Mr. Sethi. I now request all the dignitaries on this stage as well as off the stage, along with all the faculty members and CDC heads, to come up on the stage for a photograph.